Hi, welcome back to Mad About Cards and Crafts. Let's square dance today. I'm featuring these two cards. I am going to show you the stenciling process for both of them, and then I'm going to walk you through how I created my finished cards. This is the beautiful square dance stencil. It is from the Greetery. I'm showing you that this is stencil A, and I'm going to line up my paper, and then I'm going to put some tape behind it to hold it in place. I don't want to put it in the horizontal orientation. There's lines on there to help you line this up, but I am just going to tape this down. It's super easy to line up. There are 3 pieces to it. I absolutely love the gingham pattern that you are left with when you finish. So here I'm using some Distress Oxide in Tattered Rose. I'm going to show you a little bit of my blending right here. The Tattered Rose is a lighter pink color, so I am going to go over it with a couple of layers. And once I finish this, I will show you the first layer finished. I think that this color combination is absolutely stunning. It almost looks like silver and gold with the colors that I use, but they aren't. They're blue and brown. So you'll get a really good look at the finished card and just how beautiful this gingham pattern is. Once I finish up here, I'm going to remove the stencil. I do take it over and wipe it off in between, and now I'm going to add stencil B. And one of the things that's nice is that the stencil layers are etched as I'm showing you. Now I'm going to line this up. So you can see that there is a solid line and then there are open squares. I am lining up the solid line over what I have already stenciled. I'm going to turn this over, and then I'm going to put my tape back down so that I can position this. So we're going to line it up, get the dog hair off, flip it over, and add that tape. And now I'm going to come in with Weathered Wood. So Weathered Wood is a blue-gray color. I'm actually using Distress ink here. I don't know why I pulled the Distress ink and not the Distress Oxide, since I did use the oxide on the Tattered Rose. But for whatever reason, I did bring in the Distress ink. So I am going to carefully put my ink on. As I said, this is a really quick and easy process, and it really is an impactful stencil. That's one of the things that I love about products from the Greetery, is that they are so incredibly detailed and well thought out. Here we go with stencil number 3. I'm going to line that up again the same way. You can see that I have now I have the frayed burlap in the Distress ink, and this is the one that kind of looks like a gold color. You know, I'm trying to use color combinations that I haven't used in the past. I'm trying to use colors of the Distress inks and the Distress Oxides that I haven't, because I'm a full set syndrome girl. I have to have the whole entire set, and then I might not necessarily use everything. So I'm really making a conscious effort to work with different color combinations that I don't typically reach for. Weathered Wood is a beautiful color. Here's a look at that final panel. We are going to move on to panel 2. For panel 2, I did use Distress watercolor paper from Tim Holtz. I'm going to lay down my stencil. This time I did put pixie spray on it. So for some people, and a lot of people, you really shouldn't use heat when you're when you have pixie spray on your stencil. I didn't have any problems with it. My stencils came right up. I did use the Tim Holtz heat tool to heat in between, so I didn't have any of the stickiness from that. This is Pastel Dreams, the watercolor. We're going to watercolor through this, so I laid down a little bit of water. I actually spritzed my paper with water as well to begin with, and this is from Prima. It's a small little paint set. I highly recommend it. They're very pigmented and absolutely beautiful. The color that I'm using is actually called, I believe this one is, let me see here. I believe I'm using the rose right here. And so I'm going to, or not the rose, I'm sorry, I'm using Lilac Rain. So I put it on, I sprayed the pan with water, and I added a little bit to my palette. I'm going straight with this color. So I'm laying down a little bit in the corners. I'm trying to layer the color so that I get a little bit of variation. I don't want a solid square of this color, so I lay down the color and then I rinse off my brush, come in with some fresh water, and then I blend it out. And I do get a little bit of bleeding underneath because I did add a little bit too much water in some spots, but I love it. I love the look of this panel. The finished card is just gorgeous. If you could see it in person, there are little gaps here and there, which is perfectly fine with me. I knew that I wasn't going to get anything perfect with watercolor and stenciling because you don't have a lot of control with that. But the effect is so soft and so pretty. So I'm going to finish up here with the soft lilac, and then I'm going to mix two colors. There isn't a really vibrant green in here, and I wanted to do a vibrant green. So I mixed the citrus, which is the yellow in the upper right of the pans, and I'm going to mix the paradise, and you're going to see the yummy green color that I get. I will wipe off, you see all that color that I have on there from a previous project. I am going to clean all of that off in between, and then I will mix the I guess it's kind of like a sea foam. No, not a sea foam. It's a greenish, I don't know, jade color. I'm going to say that it's a minty jade color, and then the citrus has more of an orange yellow to it. So here I'm going to line up my stencil, and then through the magic of editing, you're going to see that my palette is clean, and I'm going to start mixing these two colors. And look at that green that I get. Is that not just a beautiful color? I had a little bit too much of the yellow in there. All you need to do is add a little bit more of that green, and you get a much deeper green than a yellow green. So I'm going to do the same thing. I've used a little bit more water here because I found that when I was laying down my colors with the Lilac Rain, that it wasn't moving as fast as I wanted it to. So I'm not going to show you the whole process. I did show you the whole process with the Lilac Rain, but I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just randomly laying down the ink. I will add layers of color to get the intensity that I want, and then we're going to move on to our final color, which is going to be crimson. But the crimson is more of a magenta color, I guess. I don't think of it as red. It doesn't look red at all. It's the one directly above the paradise, which is the green that I used. So it does have a deeper red tone to it, but it's still in the pink family. So here I'm finishing this off, and then we're going to add stencil number 3. So I did a little poll on my YouTube channel to see, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to show the full process for some of the cards that I created. And so for this one, I thought that it was best to just show the process using the stenciling, because that is really the main focal point of these cards. And I'm going to try to get a few more cards put together. I'm almost done with my Christmas cards, and I have not got through the product that I really wanted to use. The season goes by so fast. I just can't even believe that I'm already seeing Valentine's Day cards. and we haven't even reached Christmas yet. So I have one more week to share some Christmas cards. I hope that you don't mind seeing the Christmas cards later on in the season. And once I'm finished with that, then the week of New Year's, I'm going to try to come back with my favorite crafty buys. That was one of the things that I enjoyed doing last year. I'm going to share the top 10 crafty items that I purchased in 2020, and we are getting ready to ring in a new year. This is crazy. I know that for some, this pandemic year has been really tough. For me, it really wasn't a bad year. It was, a little bit of transition, a little bit of stress moving back and forth. But as far as the pandemic goes, it really wasn't a bad year. Didn't affect me too much. So other than I love going to concerts, and I did miss going to concerts this year. So now I'm going to heat that. There's my little Ranger heat tool. I do heat it a little bit more off camera. I come in with this shimmer spray in Frost, and now I'm going to share my finished cards. So I did cut this panel using a postage die from the Greetery. All of the products that I used will be listed in the description box below. I brought in a little bit of vellum. And so let's walk through the products a little bit. I did add some foam adhesive behind the flowers, and I did use fun foam behind that square dance pattern just to make sure that it was very stable. This was a freebie from the Greetery. It says, "Wishing you joy and cheer throughout the year." I heat embossed it onto the vellum using Hero Art's white embossing powder. That is the hoop and wreath floral set. I kept it pretty simple. I only used 2 flowers and the wreath portion. The circle comes from Hoop and Fringe. And then this is the Postal Frames, which is what I cut my square dance pattern from. I love the way that this card turned out. As I said, I kept the floral pretty simple, aligned it to the left. Here is the second card using that first panel that I created. The die is from LDRS Creative. It's called Basket Weave Pocket. I couldn't find it anywhere in my stash. I'm so sorry. I did use the inside out berry branch, and that is what's creating the beautiful foliage behind the centerpiece. The centerpiece comes from With Love at Christmas. These are all products from the Greetery. As I said, I will list them in the description box below. I used some diamond stickles and some champagne stickles. That string is from, or thread is from, my stash. And here is a final look at my cards. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and have a fabulous day.